Hi, everyone, and welcome to the I Am Landscape Growth Podcast, where entrepreneurs help entrepreneurs grow faster, better, and stronger in the green industry. From leadership to sales to recruiting and operational excellence, we cover the topics holding entrepreneurs back and share how to get past those bottlenecks with the best in the industry. I'm your host, Rob Murray, co founder and CEO of Intrigue, a digital marketing company focused on helping landscape companies grow. So sit back and enjoy the show. All right, welcome back to another episode of the I Am Landscape Growth Podcast. I have the honor of introducing our guest today, Dean Morales. He's coming to us, founder of Heritage and Company Inc., a landscape business you've been running for, this will be 23 years.
Yep.
Amazing. So thank you for being on the show.
No, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Dean's also a part of a number of different associations and types of associations, from chambers of commerce to trade associations. So we'll bring that up and dig into that more as to why you see the value in getting so involved. But maybe you can give the audience just a quick little Coles Notes summary of like how you started this business and got to where you are today.
Ooh. All right. So started in '01, freshman year of college, had you say a quick one, but long story short, I bought my cousin's stepfather was a retired pipe fitter, had a maintenance company. I was going to school UD to play soccer, and I was like, man, I need a job, need more money. I'm not going pro, and I didn't want to go work at the mall. So I met this guy. He's like, I want out of the business. I was like, I can do this. I did this in high school and odds and ends jobs, and I was always out hustling, trying to make a dollar throughout my younger years. But long story short, he sold me the company, had until November of that year to pay off our agreed upon price. Started May 1st, which is like 3 weeks too late.
Right.
Me and my best bud started it, and next thing you know, July of that year, he was paid off, and we doubled the company that summer just by doing a good job, being personable, and having good customer service from a callback conversation side of things. To where we are today, we are a signatory union landscape company in the state of Michigan. Just under 100 employees overall. So it came from 2 man in a truck to just under 100 people. Primarily bid build. Our focus now, our long-term strategic thing is definitely our maintenance division. That's number one on my hit list right now is our maintenance division, trying to make that at least 40% of our sales for the next 3 years. That's very
Amazing.
important for me. Yep.
So, I mean, from 2 to 100, that is no small feat. The theme of this podcast is all around the primary growth constraint holding entrepreneurs back in the green industry. So, from your experience and from what you see today, what do you see as the number one or two thing holding entrepreneurs back from growing to 100 plus?
Definitely labor force. And it's the foundations, right? What's your company based on or built on? I'm trying to build a company that people want to come work here.
Yeah, well, I
Um,
mean,
you
people
know,
tell me that labor force answer when they're
yep,
15 people
yep,
and you're 100.
yep.
So you
It's just
found 85 more people.
yeah. And I wish I could find 100 more. That'd be my constraint, right? And it's creating that culture, in my opinion, within your organization that people say I enjoy and love working at Heritage and Company. So it's building that destination company that is out there. We want to be known as not just a landscape company. This is a place to have a career at. That's very important. In order to do that, you got to eat, breathe, and your core values. If you don't have them and you don't have someone, or if the team doesn't quite understand what that means, then it's just a place to go to work.
Yeah,
Um,
so this is interesting, right? Like, because culture and core values are, at the best of times, ambiguous terms.
mhm.
Some people will do core value work, and they'll work with a strategic planner and take 2 days off site at some sort of beautiful, cottage setting and some lake in Michigan or whatever, and they come back and they've etched into stone and place on a wall some core values, and they're done their work.
Yeah,
And then those core values are supposed to some way shape a culture.
yeah.
So help us understand, how do you bring that to life and eat, breathe, and poop core values?
I would say everything that you just said, but then 7 to 11 more times throughout the year. That's real important. So it's easy to. You're right. we have our annual retreat. This year we were in New Orleans for our 2-day retreat, but there's also 3 other quarterly sessions that we have as a leadership team that we compile between every division and or facet within our accountability chart to iron out the issues and details, but then re-roll out EOS. So we're an EOS company, right? So I've kind of mentioned that before. It's really about being consistent and always re-rolling up and re-rolling out what your core values are, and having state of the companies, addressing where you've spent. We've invested, I hate to use the word spend, we invest so much time and effort into company parties, state of the companies, really letting the team know where we are, where we were, where we are, where we're going. So they understand the vision, and it's not understanding, it's just Dean as the owner, just having fun with this company. No, it's everyone is invested from the day one they start to, the integrator of our company. So no one can ever ask a question. I wonder what we're doing next year. How are we doing this quarter? Everyone has a number. Every week, every employee knows what winning looks like. So
Okay, wait. You're
yeah,
speaking in words that make me excited, but for someone who isn't necessarily practicing what you're talking about,
yeah,
you mentioned a couple of things there, and I don't want to lose sight of culture and core values, but we're going to swing back to it because I think it's almost ingrained in the other components that you mentioned, or at least some of them. You said accountability chart,
yeah,
and then you said everyone's got a number and they know how to win the week. So
yeah.
just start back with the accountability chart. I know you said you're an EOS, so entrepreneurial operating system. We're talking about the framework that was designed by Gino Wickman, and now there's a worldwide network of coaches that help people implement, and then other people self-implement said system. But a core part of that system is what you mentioned, this idea of accountability chart. So you just help us understand, how you brought that to life and what it does for your business.
Well, accountability chart, I want to make it be known it's not an org chart. It's not an importance chart. It's literally just an accountability chart. So if you don't build the structure around the person, you build the structure and interview for the seat itself. The accountability chart all has seats. So when I first, that might go down a rabbit hole. When I first implemented EOS, I thought I had to have it all filled out. I had to go to this meeting with, oh, I already have all that. And I wish I would have never done that, because I really didn't know what the heck I was doing. It made sense. Oh yeah, Rachel's in our marketing, and so and so is our lead estimator, but really he was just an estimator. I thought I
Right.
had to go there with this thing already filled out. But long story short, you build the accountability chart from top to bottom, bottom to top, irrelevant. But at least that's the way I look at it. It's what do you need to be successful? What is healthy and smart? Do you have typically your visionary in your company is typically in your estimating, your integrators, more your operations. So you build this accountability chart of who's responsible for what.
By function and role, not by human.
Right. 100%.
And then you place humans into those functions and roles, and then based on those functions and roles, everybody has a number. So what does that
Yeah.
mean? What's the number?
So, well, we have these 90-minute meetings called L10s every week. Everyone has a scorecard that they we've all determined as a team if we're winning or losing every week. We have an opportunity if we're off track, whether it's a sales goal, unbillable hours, head of schedule, marketing budgets, AR over 45 has to be below this threshold. Green means you're good, and red means you're off track. If you're
You're
off
an
track,
issue.
yeah, we make it an issue. And it's funny, we kind of changed it to an opportunity, because I hate the word issue. It's like, oh, let's give an opportunity here. Like, I just hate being negative, even though I get it. It's not always peaches and cream, but yeah. So everyone has a something on the scorecard to fill out, and it's just sometimes those change. To me, it's better to act than not act. And if we have add a new seat to the accountability chart where we don't have a good measurable, we allow that individual to help put what he thinks is important, or she, what makes him feel or her feel like it's winning or losing.
A
And
valuable
then we just
contribution to the organization. Yeah.
100%. So from that perspective, we keep going. And sometimes we'll fill this whole scorecard out for 6 to 9 months. It was like, I'm not getting any more value out of that. Now it's just second nature.
Right.
And we just kind of scrap it and be like, okay, this one now makes sense, but it totally keeps us in line.
I love that too, because a lot of people get caught up on the right number. I don't
Yeah.
know what the right number is, so I have no number.
Yeah.
It's like, well, why don't we just start with the number you think it should be? and run with it for 6 months. And if it's on track and off track and that feeds you value, keep it. If it doesn't, get rid of it or something like that. But
Exactly.
make the decision and move with it.
Yeah.
So then we heard a stat recently around how companies that have formal plans in place and management frameworks that they're running, kind of similar to what you're referring to, on average are at least 6% more profitable than ones that don't. Can you share, like, from a financial performance perspective, without getting into any specifics, the impact of having like a live and well EOS management framework running through the company with an accountability chart and everybody having a number and a scorecard and yada yada?
Well, we were a single digit net profit company and went to double digit within those 3 years. And we've had the most success from a profitability perspective in the last 2 years. And I contribute that solely to accountability and sharing. We're getting better at open book management, but giving everyone a winning number, a winning scorecard, and what does success look like? Because we're trying to feed that entrepreneurial attitude. Treat it like it's yours. Someone has said, I'm so busy, I'm slammed. Okay, what does that mean? Do we need to hire someone? Well, no, because then it's going to take away from my profit share at the end of the year. Okay, you're just kind of hitting the ceiling right now. So what can we? Is this a 1 month, 2 month? Is this a couple week? No, I just needed to talk and vent, and I just think I need help for a couple weeks. Sweet, I got you. I get in the trenches with you. That's no
Yeah.
problem. That's otherwise in the past, prior to 2019, I was like, oh no, like this person's drowning, and we should hire someone, and then your overhead just goes through the roof. But really, it's just about listening and communicating. But I would say listening more than communicating. I think we've became a better company if we listen more versus talk so much.
Okay, 2 years, one mouth, use accordingly. I get
Yeah.
that, from a sales perspective, we talk about it all the time, but you're kind of talking about from like an organizational leadership point of view. So what does that look like from your point, like your perspective?
What define that a little more?
You're saying you listen more, you're better listening. Like the
Oh
company's a better
gosh.
listening company. What does that mean?
Um, man, I guess I hire people that are better than me and get out of their way. And from that perspective, I don't want to know everything, don't need to know everything, but I definitely know the direction I want to take the company. I whiteboard everything, throw things up on the wall. My guy Matt, the integrator, he's like, okay, yes, that's us. That's our VTO. That makes sense. This is our current structure. We got room for that. But not everyone wants to be told what to do. Sometimes they just want to just be listened to. And usually when they're listened to, they already know the answer, but it just kind of felt good to like bounce something off somebody. Because
That's cool.
that to me, that's what happens a lot, often.
So do you have like semi-formal or formal kind of coaching moments that are happening throughout the organization, like one-on-ones and
Yeah.
reviews
Every
and that kind
night.
of stuff? Like how do you guys set that up?
So every 90 days, we have a quarterly conversation with, so I'm the visionary, but I'm also the sales lead. So I've got quarterly conversations with everyone in the estimating and marketing department. We also do we do quarterly conversations, which we also run our EOS in 90. So all the good, bad, and different gets rolled up, and we review the previous quarter metrics, and then we plan for the next 90 days. That's also an opportunity to understand who I'm managing, their love and greats are. I ask those questions. Do you still GWC or C? Yeah, heck yeah, I sure do. And it's had moments like, no, not right now, I don't. It's like, well, what's going on?
Okay,
And see,
GWC though, you gotta tell people what that is.
get it, want it, have capacity to do your roles within the accountability chart. Um, and part of those, my best question is, do I understand the love and grace of who I'm managing? And I've always thought yes, but I do ask the question every time, do you still love what you're doing here? Sometimes I've had answers say, no, I don't. And ask why. That's where the lending ear comes into play, because sometimes it's not professional, maybe it's personal. The individual's just not having a bad moment on the personal life, which then is affecting the professional. And that's where the lending ear comes into play, in my opinion.
What a great question. Do you still love what you do here?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, great. What's making you so jazzed? And the answer is no, tell me more.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So coming back to this core values and culture,
Mhm.
what are the core values of the company?
Oh boy. So we've got some awesome. We have 7 of them. You know, you're not supposed to have that many, but we fight with it
Debatable.
often. And I mean, honestly, it's crazy. So obviously we have, you know, integrity, passion, execution, quality, being a team player, and communication. Those 7 is what we lead, manage, hold accountable, hire, fire, reprimand. Um, what's been the most powerful part of those 7 core values is our foremen now only speak in that language.
Oh, so good.
It's amazing. Like it was interesting when we implemented EOS and talked about our core values and why we're in business. I lost 10 to 12% of the entire company office and field because a lot of them didn't want to be judged and or graded based on what their peers thought about how they were upholding the core values. That scared the crap out of me. I was like, oh my, I lost some amazing people, at least what I thought were amazing.
Right.
Yeah. And then once that happened, we gained 40% recruitment. As soon as they left, my whole team rallied, really understood that Dean's not messing around. This is serious. And then we grew by 40% between office and field.
Huge.
All because it was incredible. It was like the most empowering thing. Like you got to be, you know, it's called letting go of the vine in EOS. I freaking let go, right? Free fell. And I was like, let's go. And they made us who we are. And again, quarterly conversation. I love getting to know our team's family. So we have family picnics, Christmas parties, and quarterly things. The next Tuesday, we're having everyone to the office, just doing a state of the company, just kind of rolling out what this year's looking like, introducing some new seats on the accountability chart we created. Um, we love to hire and promote within. So that's exciting. We had some people kind of mention about their love and greats that they were currently not loving what they're doing. They wanted to go try something else within the company. So that's freaking a no-brainer. That's easy. Let's go try that, you know?
Cool.
Um,
So this, I
yeah,
mean, you wrap all this stuff up, like you create clarity. You know, I think
yeah,
one of the things that are often overlooked when it comes to the role of leadership in an organization is to make things clear. Where are we going and how are we going to get there?
yeah,
Accountability around the clarity, and then all these things that you're doing in terms of helping people hire from within, know if they're loving what they're doing great at work or if what they're doing at work, and listening more. That really does seem to be a lot of the layers that are starting to make you a destination company. Because I was going to ask, like, how do you become a destination company? You mentioned that before, and it seems like it's just, it's all these little disciplines that stack on each other. It's not just like one big thing where it's like, hey, there's a ping pong table in the lunchroom.
no, 100%. Yeah, we're not a Google company, that's for sure. We have the work hard, play hard mentality. Um, but we help each other cross the finish line. That's the team player part. There's not one person here that's gonna sink the ship or get us across it's a complete team atmosphere. There's so much constructive conflict that's the exciting part. I love it when someone says, no, we're not gonna do that. And this is why. It's not, we're not gonna do that because I said so. They're all teaching moments, which I think are incredible. That's why I love just throwing something out there. The team's like, no, we're not doing that, dude. You're crazy. Like, that's not who we are. And it's like, yep, thank you. Appreciate that. That was gold. I kind of got a good intuition on some things where I think that's going to happen, but it's amazing when both your visionary integrator, because usually, there's always a contention between estimating and ops. You got to sell it. Well, I'll do it. You got to do it. I don't have enough work. There's always that weird, just tension.
Yeah, it's tension in the dynamic,
Yeah,
right? I need to get this thing sold, so I'm going to try to get it done as lean as possible, and I need more time to go do the work
yeah,
properly.
exactly. So I think from that perspective, so we made everything a game. This is something cool this year. Um, we're bonusing out every job. We used to bonus out at the end of every year. Now we're bonusing out at the end of every job to really get the buy-in. It all starts with our foreman and our laborers, right? If they don't get it, want it, and have the capacity to do it, or teach us, because there's so many times a job will be going on, or I'm bidding a job, and we call a foreman like, hey, I'm looking at this job. What do you think? They're already telling me how to do the job. Now I got to somehow creatively come up with the estimating, the glass half full. Because I think like estimating is half full and operations is half empty. So
Right.
I'm trying to find that blend. Um, and now we're just making it a goal. Now we have a game. So now there's certain levels within the company we get bonused out on every job now versus waiting to the end of the year to hope that we, have enough to hit our trigger to have profit sharing.
Yeah, that's cool. So have you studied or been exposed to the Great Game of Business?
Yes. Yeah.
Is
That's kind of exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay, cool. And anybody who
100%.
hasn't, check
Yeah.
out Google, The Great Game of Business. It's an amazing organization that created an organization to help people implement the Great Game of Business. Um, so this is just a quick one for you and for the audience that are listening. So one of the things that you said there, I think, is really powerful, and a lot of people don't necessarily live it, so they don't necessarily understand it. But when you're foreman and you're leaders inside the organization, not you, not founders, but leaders, are using core values as language in terms of coaching people, whether it's coaching them well or coaching them reprimand, whatever, but coaching, um, it really brings core values to life. And one of the things we've done ourselves and helped a couple people with is, have you heard of the Gallup poll? There's these 12 questions that essentially give you an indication of the health of the organization from staff's perspective. So anyway, they did this big global study. It was, whatever, thousands of people in hundreds of organizations. And across the study, universally across the globe, one of the statements that never ranked well was, I've received recognition or praise for doing good work. So it's the lowest scoring response across the globe in all organizations. We learned about this many years ago and we scheduled who we would give, like, hey, way to go, pat in the back, high five, whatever. And then we redid the survey and the score didn't move. And we were like, this is crazy. We've significantly increased the behavior of giving people praise and it didn't change the score. So then we gave people awesome citations, these little pieces of paper that are like sticky pads, but you can order them on Amazon. They're like $3. And we would say, hey, great work. You exemplified the core value of, in our case, maybe it was team and action, whatever it was. And what was really neat when we started doing that is they started saving them, and then they started giving them to each other. And the score on that, metric went through the roof. But what it led to was probably one of the most impactful core values exercises that we've ever done. We have a C flat award. So our core values as an acronym are C flat. So it's CFLLATT,
Okay.
client, fund, leadership, learning, action, team, and trust. And so once a year for the Christmas party, whatever, 60 days before, we send out a poll. Everybody votes anonymously on how well people live out the core values on a scale of 1 to 6. What's crazy is two things happen. One is we get to give out awards for people that lived out those core values in a really great way. The people that are that don't get the awards have to give out the award. So it's kind of like an Oscars, award ceremony type of environment. But then when you're done, you have a stack ranking of how the whole company feels about everybody. And and then we do top two, bottom two. So the top two get put into mentorship with like the senior leadership, and the bottom two get questioned. They're not quarterly conversations, but it's critical conversations about how we need to level up or level out. I haven't heard anybody else do that yet, but it is by far the most impactful exercise with so many benefits and so easy to do. Anybody who's listening, if you ever want to try it, I wanted to share because you mentioned that. So that's really cool.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I'd like to learn a little more in depth in that.
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
when we're done, I can show you a tool. I can even share you on the form, whatever, if you want. Okay, sweet. So, recruiting, I love the way you're talking about it too, because it's not about just getting new people and being the destination company, but it's also keeping your current staff that you want to keep, letting people go that you need to let go. Is there anything else then when it comes to people that you see holding people back right now?
There was a weird mindset for a long time about some of the foremen not wanting to train other foremen in fear of losing their job. Or if I teach them too much, then what am I going to do? And so what we did was, we implemented an apprenticeship program here at Heritage, right? And in order to do that, we really needed our foremen to get vulnerable. There are some of our foremen that want to teach and some of our foremen that did not want to teach. You should know this already. So then again, that's what they'll say. You should know this already. Why are you here? You're not a hard worker. You're not this. But to me, it's like if someone shows up at 7 o'clock every day, ready to
learn?
go, they're freaking ready to go. They want to learn. It's just everyone has different learning styles and how they're going to pick things up. Like I'm a 7 to 11 guy. My integrator's a 1. I can tell him, I call him right now, hey, Matt, this is what I think we got to do. It's done. He's going to tell me 7 to 11 times in a healthy and smart way.
Right.
that's just the reality of it. But but what's cool is all our foremen now, and I'd say the entire company you got to get used to being uncomfortable, like be vulnerable, make mistakes, be open and honest about it. Don't have the mentality of, oh, it's because I said. Like that's not going to work here. If someone says, oh, we're doing this because I said, like, get out of here. Yeah, I'm sorry, that just doesn't work.
No.
If we're not in the 50s where that's
But
going
you're
to
not
happen.
talking to 5-year-olds.
100%. Yeah. I guess I'm an 11, 13-year-old. I get it. Yeah. But no, so from that perspective, again, it's once we get them here, it's up to us to keep them here, right? That's, understanding the culture, showing them the path of progression, how they're going to make more money and what's the next advancement, how to become a foreman, how to get a company truck, how to, um, have a lifelong fulfilling career at Heritage. And that's also done by having our quarterly meetings, our summer parties, our Christmas parties, really getting the whole family involved. Because it's happened, right? We've almost lost some, we've lost some good people, but we've also almost lost people. And if it wasn't for the family saying, wow, Heritage, look what he's done for her. Like they told me this, the wife just came to me and said, man, X, Y, and Z was, had a really good offer, making, during COVID, there was people paying way above scale because
Sure.
out of fear, right? And I get it. But they said, she was like, I told, X, Y, and Z that you can't. Like, look what they've done. Look what you're part of the family. How can you leave them? And so that's done with pure, like it's a family. That's why I call it heritage. Like I'm all about the heritage, the family, who
I
we
love it.
were, where we are. That's really important to me. So I want the families to share the success too. So
Well, they're the ones that support the people in the company,
yeah,
supporting the clients and the whole thing,
yeah,
right? So
agreed.
you've been in a business partnership for 20 years plus.
Yep.
What's one or two tips you'd give to somebody who's either entering a business partnership or maybe midway and it's not necessarily going the way they want to be able to maintain such a healthy relationship?
Um, be open and honest. I think every issue is about communication, lack of communication. Never assume when something's not going trust your gut and your instinct, but don't be afraid to be vulnerable and to ask the question with the partner. Hey, this is, if this isn't working out, why? I bet you there's probably just a misunderstanding or a misalignment of where each of the partners want the company to go.
So one of the things I hear a lot is that the partner isn't holding their weight.
Hmm.
How do you address
Um,
that? Because it might not be true, but that's how they
yeah.
feel. So when we talk about being open and honest, do you have any tricks or whatever you might be able to share with
Yeah.
somebody about how to engage a conversation like that?
100%. Start with an accountability chart. I'm really looking forward to being fired from being a sales lead. I tell the team all the time, fire me. I need to be fired, and I'm okay with that,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, start out with an accountability chart. You might have two visionary, non-quick starters as partners, and no one's really executing and come up with a process. So until they figure out their learning styles, I took a Colby score. We like Colby around here, and it makes complete sense. You can do a Colby analysis
So
from person to
self-awareness though,
person.
regardless, like,
Yeah,
understand yourself before you start
right.
to lead anybody else.
Yeah,
So you've done Colby and you guys brought that in, and then accountability chart makes it more clear. If everybody has a number, if the number's being hit, then
yeah,
there's no questions.
yeah. And now, what happens is someone's going to hit a ceiling, right? And then it's like, well, you can only grow so much. Like when I first started out, I was in the field. Well, if I'm in the field, I'm going to die in the field. I can't really grow in the company by being in the field all day. So you got to find someone that complements who you're not, or who you are if you're trying to multiply. So I
Right.
think that's important, right? You build the accountability chart, come up with the key roles, and then you place the person in the seat and not the seat around the person. Otherwise, you'll just fail miserably. And you're going to be in the trenches, in my opinion, for a while. And then you're going to get out of the trenches and you're going to just skyrocket and you're going to hit the ceiling again. And it's ever evolving, going up and down. But I think it's about being open and honest and telling your team when you're hitting the ceiling. Otherwise, you're both personal and professional life will probably hit a ceiling often, and they're,
And
they're not going to
not in a
help each
good
other.
not in a good way, yeah.
Exactly.
Um, so maybe can you speak to a little bit about like how your involvement in associations has helped you grow personally as a leader?
Oh, absolutely. So obviously the MNLA, the Michigan Nursery Landscape Association, that's who we are. I do wish we were more involved in MNLA. We've been heavily involved in the MITA, which is the Michigan Infrastructure Transportation Authority. They're, we're a union landscape company, so they help with my collective bargaining with the laborers. Um, but I can tell you both of, and MHCC, the Michigan Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, right? So I look at our niche and who our customer base is, and that's who we go get involved.
Yeah.
So we want to grow our maintenance division, and BOMA, Building Owner Manager Association, makes complete sense. So I'm not a, I am a quick starter, but I also do my research. So I don't want to half-ass anything. So if we're going to be a part of an organization, we got to plant someone in the organization.
Yeah, and get
And we're
involved, right? Not just be
100%.
there and have a badge on your website, right?
Right, yeah, absolutely. So I think it's the famous, coin phrases. It's like a gym membership. If you don't use it, you ain't gonna benefit from it. So if you're gonna invest in the time and money, something's got to give, right? It's time, and whatever time you're gonna be giving to the organization is something else is gonna be getting that time. So to me, it's about being healthy and smart and having someone that can GWC the ownership. Like, I'm not gonna be involved in both. I'm gonna go to the fun events, but
Right.
our outside sales and our biz dev, they're the ones that gotta go there and really put the gym time in, right? Get to know you,
And
like
so
you,
and
trust
so
you.
has there been any opportunities for you involved in associations that made an impact on you as a leader specifically?
100, I'd say MITA, absolutely. It was kind of fun. Last started their Future Leaders program 6 years ago. Got to know the big players in the road work per se, here in Michigan. And in October, I was, asked and invited to be part of the board of directors, and which is it's called the director at large, which I think was like I'm the smallest fish in the biggest pond, and that was kind of cool.
And
I
that's kind
was,
of where you want to be if you want to grow,
yeah,
right?
100%. Yeah, it's like being the least expensive house on the most expensive neighborhood, right? I can only go up from there. But yeah, it's being involved in those organizations and not being afraid to go and shake someone's hand and introduce yourself and give them their 90-second elevator pitch.
And have
But
you
it's
have
usually
you
organic,
have you met anybody that's kind of led to a bit of like a mentor relationship, even if it's like quasi formal and you just get a chance to bounce some ideas off somebody who's been there?
Yeah, 100%. So I've in '07 met a gentleman named Doug Walls. He's at Eagle Excavation. Been a great mentor for, gosh almighty, that's scary, 14 years now ish. He was heavy on the site work side of things. He was a great mentor, is a great mentor, who kind of helped me get into the whole MITA, and really it's kind of like he was the gentleman that said, there's a pond. Now you're gonna go drink it or not. It wasn't like this is what you got to do. He just, you got to be receptive to opportunities that are in front of you and not assume that everything's going to be handed, fed, spoon fed you. Um, so that's Doug Walls has been an ample part to our growth. Rob Coppersmith at MITA, he's the main man over there. It's incredible. He's always the one where I'm kind of venting about something. He's like, "Oh, here it is," and it's like, "Ah, there it goes. Makes sense." And then my whole team, my team outside of this company, I'm going to give them a really interesting thing. So my banker, right? Her name's Kyle Cecina. She's incredible. She's our number one fan. So you got to have the finance backing. I've got an attorney, Jacqueline Cults, who's just, they're all part of the leadership team per
Yeah, that's
se.
cool, right? They're like the scaffolding that helps you grow, kind of.
100%. You know, and then obviously the support at home, right? I'm lucky enough to have my wife Michelle. She doesn't know anything about my company, nothing. Like, not like when I'm driving home, like it shuts off from work mode to husband/dad mode, and she knows when things shit. Everything okay? Yep, it's all right. But I'll vent when I need to vent. But other than that, she totally supports it. We do 5-year increments, right? I'm like, every 5 years I reevaluate my life and at work. And are we going to keep going, or are we going to do something different? So that's kind of what it's been like for the last 23 years. Um,
Amazing.
yeah. So really surround yourself with people that are congratulate your wins and not only point out your losses. I think that's important.
Yeah, shoot you straight
Yep.
both ways.
Yes, 100%.
So then, outside of these mentors and EOS and Great Game Business, I mean, you've mentioned a couple of big, awesome resources. Is there another, like maybe author, leader, speaker that you think would be worth sharing with the group that you've kind of drawn inspiration from?
You know, we've been flirting with it's always a podcast. I don't listen to radio anymore, right? Except for if I'm on a boat or on vacation. But other than that, like to and from work, I love the Jeffrey Scott stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I was, flirted with, potentially, using him as a coach. There's a strategic coach is something else
Yeah,
that
Dan
I've
Sullivan.
been going back and forth on. I'd say that probably been the most non-pulling of the trigger is another coach. Because I want to make sure we're healthy and smart. I like a couple years of consistent data before I change things up per se.
Cool.
But no, I love Jeffrey Scott's material. I love his podcasts like this. I love the Gino Wickman. I like this. Yeah, there's always one. It's always a podcast. There's
Yeah,
always
no,
a
that's all
nugget.
good, man.
Yeah,
All right, sweet. Well, I really do appreciate you coming on this show and everybody for listening. So thanks for doing this, Dean.
I appreciate it. Thank you much.
All right, rock on. Thanks, everybody. The I Am Landscape Growth Podcast is brought to you by Intrigue, where passionate marketing meets predictable results for entrepreneurs. Remember to like and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss the next episode. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please visit intriguemedia.com and click on podcasts.